Hello and welcome to a very dreary Alabama Thursday. It has been a very interesting month here in Alabama, and I have got some knitting and crochet done to show you. I've also got a good bit of stuff done out here in the studio, and we had snow in Alabama. It wasn't much, but it was beautiful. So even though it did not snow a lot, I think it was still gorgeous to see the snowflakes coming. It was so cold though in Alabama for so many days that everything was just kind of freezing. It was a great time to just sit back and relax and enjoy it all and get some knitting and crocheting done. And that is what I did. And I do have several finished objects and works in progress to show you here in a minute. But I also did go outside and take some photos of the winter wonderland. And it was about 5 degrees. I think from Monday all the way through Sunday, it actually only got above freezing for a total of like 5 or 6 hours. It was kind of crazy. We don't really get this kind of cold weather here, but when we do, I love every minute of it. And when I was outside and it was snowing, it was so cold that the individual snowflakes were just falling on the leaves and hitting the side of the studio and just staying there, preserved. And it was just really interesting to see the intricate detail of them. It was just really, really pretty. And when I was looking at these snowflakes, I was reminded just how intricate and special our on creative works can be. We all add our own little flair by color or by little extra detail, and it makes everyone's individual makes just as beautiful and intricate to see. So I hope you enjoy this parade of knitted and crocheted items and what I have planned to make for February. Before we go any further, I do want to talk about what I'm wearing. I realize in past videos that I am often wearing handmade items and I don't really tell you about them until I get to the editing process, and that is when it hits me. So I always try to go back and add that information in the video's description, but not everyone reads the description, and I feel like I am kind of doing a disservice to the designers and the yarn companies by not sharing the information with you. So going forward, I would like to make it a priority to do that before we get into the bread and butter of the videos, and that way I don't forget, because I am quite forgetful about things like that. So in saying that, this is the Scottish Garden Shawl, and this is by the Monroe sisters. This was 740 yards of a sport weight yarn, and I actually test knit this shawl. Back in 2020, Eat Sleep Knit, there are a yarn store that is a brick and mortar store and an online store. I talk about them a lot. They are probably what I consider my favorite online yarn retailer. They are the epicenter of all things hand dyed. It is amazing to walk in that store and see the amount of yarn, hand dyed yarn, that is just at your fingertips. It's just such a great store. And all of their yarns are also on their online website. So it is super easy to shop either one of those. And I've actually got a video on this channel that I will link in the description. And I don't really remember when the program started. It had to be 2019, 2020, but it was during that time. It only lasted, I think, a year and a half. That Eat Sleep Knit developed this program to help smaller channels get testing for their patterns that they needed and helped them have yarn support. And as a purler or tester, you had to sign up, you had to fill out this resume, and you had to get approved to be a tester. It was based off of your skill level, and you had to be able to use Ravelry to track every one of your projects and show good time management, because these were very much a limited time frame test knit. And if you did not stay within your time range and complete the project, then you would not be eligible to do another one. It was actually a lot of fun though. I have to admit, I tested several items during that process. I think they were all knitted, but this was one of them. But these are two yarns that I've picked up from Miss Babs. This top one is Miss Babs Cura. Now, Cura is probably one of my favorite Babs yarns. It is a very bouncy and plump sport weight yarn. Cura comes in 100% merino and it is 560 yards per the 225 grams. This color that I used is called Masquerade. It is this yellow base, kind of yellowish cream base, and it has all these glorious sparks of color inside of it. That's greens and reds and maroons and purples. And I paired it with this Yummy 3-ply, which is also a Miss Babs yarn. The Yummy 3-ply is 100% merino as well. It is 335 yards per 150 grams. And this colorway is called Smoky Mountain Rain. It is important to note about Babs yarn that she has different dye styles. Babette are basically colorways that are repeatable, and then she has monochromatic, she has the tonals, and then she has the wild irises. But wild irises are just that. They are a wild, very rare yarn. It's either something happened in the dye pot and it doesn't look like the normal production of the colorway, or it's where her or one of her staff have gone in and decided to be super creative that day and create a very limited number of skeins in various bases of this one color. So there may have only been 3 or 4 of these produced by her, and then they're just gone. And I love Smoky Mountains, and I also love Rainy Days, so it was a colorway that as soon as I saw it on the website, I had to have it. But it is super gorgeous. It is this blue color, but it has the slightest little hints of this yellow that matches perfectly with the Masquerade. And in the blue section, I did that solid panel there because it has this lace detail. And much like I spoke about earlier, lace is something that we can do that is so intricate in our crafting, and it has such a beautiful touch, but it's so easy and effortless, really, to create simple lace work in your knitting. All it is some yarn overs, and with a little bit of blocking, because this is a natural wool, that lace just pops. And using colorways that are hand dyed like the wild irises, you really do get one-of-a-kind pieces, and I think that's why I'm so drawn to them. I did get some new yarns for 2024. I actually talked about a couple of them in this video that I did a live of the other day, so if you have not seen that, I'll link that down below if you want to catch that after this one. I would greatly appreciate it. And I kind of talk about one of my whips in that video, so I think we're going to go ahead and start off with that one and then kind of go into some more of the whips. So this is the Loops and Threads Ombre Hues. It's a new yarn that Michaels is carrying. I did talk about 3 of the colorways that I got in that video, but this is the Coffee, Cream, and Tan, and I bought this mainly because I love coffee and cream. I also thought it was a really pretty light, airy color, and I needed something to wear at church with maybe dresses or an outfit that has a lot of color. I needed something kind of plain, and I thought that this would be great because I do get kind of cool easy with my thyroid issues, and it's nice to have something just to throw on just to give a little bit of warmth when I need it. I do like this. I have been thinking about it because I talked about the yarn, but mainly the project in that video as well. And I really don't like how big the neck opening is. And I've been thinking about it. It's been sitting in timeout. I've started like a different little stitch on it, but I think I may actually rip this out and make that smaller. It's just a little bit of crochet. It's not a big deal, but it is pretty. It's very pretty. And it's very soft and airy. I will have to take my time taking this out because of the way that the fibers are very fluffy. It has a lot of halo on the yarn. And if you just go in and rip it out, it's going to really make the yarn show some wear and tear, and I don't want that. I do have 2 of these, so I should have plenty, and I can always grab more if I wanted to. But this yarn is 100% acrylic, and it is a DK weight yarn. And the pattern that I was using for this is from Sincerely Pam. I will link it down below, but I don't think I'm going to be using it anymore. But I will link it still in case you would like to make it, because it is a free pattern. My next work in progress is my fingerless mitts. Now these have been on the needles since Christmas. I was calling these my Advent mittens. And in theory, I was going to try to do a stripe a day. And I didn't really succeed in that because I got busy. I actually got to really start moving in here in December. There is a lot of videos on this space and the process of it, especially through my Vlogtober series. And then there's a playlist called Building My Yarnitopia in case you're interested. So I got a little preoccupied moving in here, but this is made out of Mustache Yarns, and that is from Stacy of Mustache Yarns. This is a fingering weight yarn. It is her perfect matched set in the colorway A Very Hobbit Christmas. And the way this yarn works is that you get this yarn hanked up, but the hank is already separated, and it's separated so that once you wind it, you can cast on for mittens or socks, whatever you want to do, and they will start at the exact same spot in the skein, so you have perfectly matched pairs. I thought this yarn was just too pretty to be used in socks, and I really wanted some fingerless mitts out of these. Obviously, these did not get done in time for Christmas, and that is perfectly okay. I will get them done. I am using this pattern that is called Socks versus Fingerless Mitts by Carrie Ann Inkleberry. This is a free pattern. I was reading through the notes, and a lot of people said that there wasn't enough wrist shaping, so I am doing mine on 2 at a time, and that makes that wrist shaping decreases really easy. I use 2 circular needles. These are 24-inch needles. These are Hiya Sharps in a 0, I believe, because that's what I like to use with my fingering weight yarn for socks and such. And I am doing them as the pattern says, but I am adding wrist shaping, which is just decreases randomly throughout where I feel like I need them, because it's not written in the pattern to do so. I've done a couple of them. You can kind of see it starting to go slowly inward. I think I've already done 2 decreases, and it's just going to slightly give me a little bit of a tapered mitten right around my wrist, because my wrist is kind of small. And then once I feel like they're long enough and that I've done enough decreases, I will start my thumb gusset. So you start that right about here, and then you start increasing, and that's the pocket that your thumb pad goes in. It'll go right around this area right here. Then you start knitting back in the round and finish out the mitt. I am not going to pick up those stitches and do a knitted on thumb. I don't think. I'm probably just going to leave it like sliced off. I may, I don't know, haven't really decided yet. But I really, really love this colorway. This yarn is so pretty and fun, and it's really nice. I love the different colors in there. And I love how perfectly these are matched. I'm only off a few stitches without them being just right on target. You can see a little bit where the color ends and another one begins on some of these, but not much at all. And they've kind of just been sitting in limbo because I think I only have a couple more rows and then one more decrease, and then I want to start that thumb gusset. And doing a thumb gusset is really no skill involved, but for whatever reason, when I go from something that's like a vanilla sock pattern, which is just a way of saying a basic pattern, or a vanilla mitten pattern, that continuous in the round flow of knitting, and it's time for me to change, I always feel like I have to be in a place, in a mindset to do so, and I don't really know why. I just really need to increase and be done with these. And so they're going to be my priority this weekend as far as my crafting, so I can get these off the needles hopefully by February. Will I be able to do so? I don't know, because I really want to work on finishing up all the yarn and putting it into Ravelry as well. And I will have another video where I'm going to show you some recent yarn purchases and some happy mail, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to do it in this video. I have a couple more whips to show you though. The other one that I've picked up is my Bella Vita Shawl. This was a crochet along that I started over the fall season, and I love this shawl. But this is also something where I started with the pattern and I was going along with the pattern, but then I just kind of felt like done with the pattern. I felt like I needed to go and do my own thing with it. And that's kind of what I've done with this. So I pretty much followed the pattern from cast on to somewhere around here. And then the way that this yarn is dyed up, it is a gradient yarn. My yarn was hitting in weird places in the knitting or in the pattern structure. So it was doing these weird color changes like in the middle of kind of like this kind of section, and I didn't like how it looked. For this, I am using the Cotton Kings Sutton Deluxe Shine. This is a Hobie yarn. It is super gorgeous. This is one of my favorite colorways. This is called Baltic Ember, and I love this yarn. You cannot really feel that strand of stellina, and this is a continuous strand. It doesn't fall out like a project I'm going to show you in a minute. And it has these really pretty colors in it. Look at that sparkle. Oh my goodness. So nice. This comes in a sport weight yarn. It is 1,093 yards and there's 8.8 ounces or 250 grams. But I love how this is working up. I'm using a G hook for this. But to keep that yarn from changing in the middle of a section, I'm kind of going off on my own again on this one. So I just kind of stopped the pattern right around here. I'm probably going to do some more of these puff stitches because I do enjoy them. But for this section, I wanted to have more of a 3D effect, and I think I've accomplished that using some front post double crochets. And I really like how that looks. And now I'm kind of repeating some of this section here in these yarn overs. And it's just been a really pleasurable, relaxing crochet. I love the drapiness of this yarn, and it just feels so delightful. It is 100% cotton. No, it's not 100% cotton. I'm just kidding. It is a 96% cotton and 4% polyester, and that polyester is that sparkle, a golden sparkle. I often forget to talk about bags too, and I think that's something I need to get better at, because a lot of the bags I do use are from different makers. So my fingerless mitts are actually in one of my Namaste Oh Snaps. This is something that Jimmy Beans and Della Q puts out. I have been a fan of these for almost as long as I have been knitting. So since whenever they came out with them. I think my first one I got was 2015-ish. I've loved these forever, but they are this thick mesh, and they have these snaps. These are great for multi things, not just for knitting and crochet. I use these when I travel, but I like them because I can put my project in them and the needles do not poke through this mesh. My cats, however, love to chew on this, so if you have cats, you may not want to leave these out in the open. They will chew on them and their little teeth will puncture them. I think it's my breast cancer awareness set that my cat has kind of left some imprints for me, so I will never forget his love, but it's fine. That's just life. But that is what my fingerless mittens are living in. And this project, this shawl, is living in this bag. This is a bag that my friend Deborah got me one year. I'm not sure of the bag maker. I don't see a tag, but it has this really cute orange fall print and all these pumpkin lattes, because she knows that I am not only a fanatic for fall, but I am a fanatic for pumpkin spice, all the things. I love all the pumpkin spice and fall flavors. and just pretty much fall in general. Fall and winter, when everything is cold and dead, is when I'm the happiest. Another one of my active whips are my temperature snakes. This is a project that I started last January. I had never done a temperature style project, and I see all the time people asking like what these projects are. And temperature projects can either be like a scarf or a blanket, but it's something where you go ahead and choose colors that represent different temperature ranges for your area. And every day or every week, you take that temperature high or low. In my case, I used high and low, and you do a round to correspond that color that you predetermined for that temperature gauge. So this is an example of mine. I've chose all these colors and then I matched them to a certain gauge. And I made a temperature, highs, snake, and low snake because I chose to do a snake opposed to a whole blanket because I know that I would not ever get that done. I just know it. And this is a pattern by Planet June. She runs this craft along every year, but I did complete my high snake. I'm going to show you that in a minute with my other FOs, but this is my current whip, is my low snake. And I honestly have 2 more days, I think, or 3 more days. And then I start doing the decreases for the tail, and I need to sew on the tongue of my snake. I may not do a tongue on my high snake. I kind of want one with it and one without one, but these are going to live somewhere in here. Originally, when I started this, I really wanted to have exposed rafters and had them kind of wrapped around the rafters, but that would have had involved me moving the board that supports the rafters and then reapplying it, and they had so many nails in there. We did not want to do that. So even though I have somewhat cathedral ceilings, it does kind of flatten, and those beams are up under that, and it's helping hold my roof. So I don't know where I'm going to put these. I may just kind of lay them so they're kind of hanging over the wall where the gnomes live in here. But I do think they turned out super cute. I really love the color combo that my low snake and how they kind of play together. I left these stitch markers in here just to kind of show the beginning and the ending of each month, but I'm going to be taking those out because I'm not going to leave those in there. But I only have to finish this one, which kind of leads us into finished objects. So I did finish my high snake, and I think it turned out pretty cute. They are super long. You can see how the decreases kind of actually begin during the last days of the month, but then you really start decreasing rapidly when you do the last part of the tail, and it's designed so the tail matches the head. I may actually do the tongue on this one because I think it would match really well with its colors. I am using a bunch of just acrylic worsted weight yarns with this. I did this project originally so I could really burn through some of my acrylic yarns, and it has been very effective in doing so. But I really like how these turned out. And you can see it's always cooler weather in January and at the end of the year. And then we just kind of stay pretty warm the rest of the year. Pretty normal temperatures. And even last year, we did not get as much colder days as we have this year. I even thought about doing another one this year just so that I could show that color variation with the crazy lows that we've had this month. Because I didn't even get to use all those lower temperature colors in these, even on the lows. We never really got past 20 degrees Fahrenheit last year, where already this year in January we had some 5 degrees days. But the thought of doing 2 more of these in the same project over did not excite me at all, and so I'm not gonna do it. I do love my high snake just as much. I think he's super cute. And there are some really old yarns in here, like this Red Heart Rose. It's super old, and it's great to use this because this was given to me from my mother-in-law, and it's nice to see it in a project, but it's also even more joyful to see it going out of my stash. So the next finished object I have is the bramble basket. You may notice that I now have little spots on me from the rain. That is because I had to pause recording to go chase out the random dog that was trying to get in the fence. I got a nice little run in, in the sprinkling rain. But I do want to share the rest of my projects with you. And this is something that I completed this month. I talked about at the first of the month that I was doing a couple of craft alongs, and this was the hooker versus hooker, which is a challenge that some of the YouTube channels get together and do on. It stemmed out of something that was seen in a Simply Crochet magazine, and that is where they have the hook versus hook. And the Simply Crochet magazine gives these two designers the yarn each month or however often they do it. And the two different crocheters have to come up with a pattern to use the yarn with. So a couple of channels decided that they want to do something similar and make it kind of like a game show. And they call it the hooker versus hooker because crochet hooks. And this month, the theme was you had to make a bag. If you are a contestant in this make-along, then you cannot talk about your project until the final showing, and that is when the audience or the viewers get to vote. I was not a contender for the month of January. I just wanted to make one just to kind of join along. I'm hoping that I get to be a contender at some point because I think it would just be fun and I like doing fun things. But I made the bramble basket, and this is using some scraps of I Love This Yarn, Red Heart Super Saver in various colors. The way that this make along works is they choose a person who chooses the colors. A person gets drawn who comes up with the theme of the project for the month, and then you have your contenders versus the channel host. So the one person that chose colors chose pink, blue, gray, and purple, and that means your project has to have all of those colors in it. It can be any kind of shade or hue of the color, but it has to have those colors. Each color can only be used once, no variegation, no gradient colorways, just solid tonals or solids. And the another person chooses the theme of the project. So the bag was chosen. I made my bramble basket out of a necessity, and that is I needed something to drop my keys in when I come in here. I have a tendency to lay them down and then I cannot find them. It's happened several times. So I decided to make a basket, hanging basket or bag, that I can just slip the keys in as soon as I come in. So as soon as I shut the door, I just know to put the keys in there, and it's a cute little functional way to keep up with them. The bramble basket is so easy to make. I really, really like how this works up. I decided to do mine with a different stripe so I can utilize all those colors, and then I used one of the colors as like a trim. And as far as that purple that I mentioned, I put mine in the fringe because I really didn't like how it looked with the other colors, but I still had to have it in there for the project. And you don't really win anything by participating. It's just fun, and I like fun. And this also gave me one of my classes for my Harry Potter craft along. And I used this one for the charms class. And you're supposed to write like a little paragraph and why it works for that class. And so I did that, and I linked that link on my project page, and I'll put that in the description as well in case you want to kind of read and see how that Harry Potter craft along goes and what's required of you to put in a post each time you make something. The next finished object was my trees. And I'm so happy to get these things off my needles. Mine look a little wonky, and that's because, I don't know, I think I was just over it, and I really hate this yarn. I can never say that I've experienced a yarn that I've hated until now, and this is it. This is some Yarn Bee Velvety Smooth Sparkle, and that little fun pretty sparkle is not a continuous strand. No, it's like little pieces of sparkle that are about anywhere from 3 to 5 millimeters long. So when you're crafting with this, knitting or crocheting, or just shaking it, the sparkles come out like that one did, and that one did. So basically it just leaves sparkle poop wherever you go. And we have 4 cats, and I'm so afraid they're going to eat this sparkle poop, and then when they eat it, they poop out sparkles, which is not as fun as it would sound. So I'm glad to be done with this project. I did finish the big cable tree, and this is using this cable that kind of goes up, and then in between the cable is this row of reverse stockinette. I probably overstuffed mine, but this yarn is very, I don't know. I don't know. The way that the big one was written and the way that the pattern writes these, it has you start from the bottom and work your way up. But then you just have this hole, and like every time I try to do anything, the yarn would just kind of fall off the thread as far as the velvety part. So I just stuffed it and then got some craft mesh and then made a flat surface for it to sit on. It's not horrible looking, it's not ugly, and it's going to be so high up anyways that it doesn't matter. This is going to go up on the shelf with my gnomes during the holidays. I just wanted to be done with this. I just really hated the yarn that much, and that's sad, but it's true. But I do like how it turned out. I think it is very pretty. And then I tried to use up some more of the yarn, so I made a bite-sized treat. However, on this one, I didn't really follow the pattern. The pattern for this is called White Pines, and it's a pattern that I got from Webs. They had it on the cover of one of their magazine flyers one year. But to use it up, I decided I was not going to start from the bottom again. I started from the top and I worked my way down, and I wanted to kind of have a very wonky tree. I was thinking something along the lines of something you would see in Whoville, like in The Grinch, because this is going up where the gnomes are during Christmas time. And gnomes are pretty magical creatures, and they need pretty magical, creature-esque forest items around them. So I gave my tree some personality and made it very Whoville-ish. When I got to the bottom, I did a round of purl stitches to kind of give it a natural little surface to sit on. And then I did some decreases, and I liked how that turned out much better than the craft foam. A piece of glitter just fell. I will say this is not the flattest thing, so it doesn't sit perfectly flat because of the stuffing inside, but I don't care. It's going to be fine. But I'm glad to be done with these. I have this little bit of the yarn left. I was just going to throw it in the trash, but then I talked myself into keeping it for some reason in case I want to use it for a Christmas ornament next year. I don't know why. I hate this yarn, but I do kind of like my trees. I think they're kind of cute and wonky. So much like the trees that will be used from my Harry Potter classes, I also made the things we're making a Thursday project for the month, and that is slippers. I have 2 videos talking about these slippers, so I'm not going to go into much detail. You can find links to them in the description, and they're going to be on obviously my channel. But these are the ones that I finished up with. I did wind up taking out the first ones that I knitted, and I'm so glad I did. Originally, I was going to use a gray yarn held with it, I think, but then I decided to go with this purple, and I love the color variation that came of that. I love the purple with the blips of the blue. I just think they're really fun and bright. I did modify mine because that's what I love to do. I went up to a US 9, but when I got to this last part before you split and stop going in the round, I added in a couple of stitches to kind of give myself a wider chair, I guess you can say, or a wider pocket. We'll go with pocket that my heel goes in. I do have very long feet, as you can tell. I'm very tall. I'm 6 feet tall. It comes with it. And my ankles are kind of high, so I knew that if I didn't, it was going to sit very low on my foot, and then I didn't want to have that feeling of it falling off. So that helped fix that problem. I did also do Kitchener stitch on the back of them. Kitchener stitch, I used to hate it, but if you do it several times, it just becomes a part of your being, and you can't even tell where it kind of ends or begins, and you can memorize it. It just takes a little practice. Once I got that completed, I then picked up the stitches around the ankle part, and then I did a 1x1 rib for a couple of about 2 inches to give it kind of a grabbing and more of a way to stay on my feet. These are 2 strands of worsted weight yarn. So the blue color was the blue and the gray called Cloudy Sea. And it was, I love this yarn, and that purple is a Loops and Threads. I can't remember what the base is, but it's just their basic worsted. So these are held double. They're very bulky weight. They're very comfortable. Let me say that they're very comfortable, but being a bulky weight, I can definitely feel the garter ridges under my feet. I guess I'm more of a tactile foot person than I thought I was. And so in saying that, I know that if I was to do a pair of crocheted slippers, I'm probably not going to like them at all. I'm definitely going to feel those stitches. So there's no point starting that just for the sake of the craft alone. What I decided to do is I may go ahead and make the ballet slippers that I showed during that slipper video and incorporating that heart motif as an intarsia heart on the top of the foot of the slipper. That's kind of what I'm thinking I may do. I don't know if I'm going to do it next month. I'm definitely not going to start on it this month because then I will not be able to turn it in because I probably won't be able to finish them. I don't know if I'm going to make those anytime soon or not, but that's kind of where my game plan is as far as my next pair of slippers. But these do fit great and they're super cute. I wound up using a total of 241 yards. Again, that is with the yarn held double. I can turn these in for a class, but because the yarn is held double, I don't get the full 241 yards worth of points. You have to have that for however many yards that it was held double, which is fine. But I think I'm going to turn these in definitely for one of my classes because that's another class, and that is more points to my Hufflepuff house cut. The last thing that I completed so far for the month, you actually probably seen it if you look at my community tab, and that is this really cute ear warmer. And this was another project that was made out of necessity and need, opposed to just wanting to make something. I had went into Michael's. I saw everyone was talking about their Michael's sale. My Michael's had not a lot left. They only had like 1 or 2 skeins of anything, but lo and behold was this one little skein of pink Charisma Loops and Threads Charisma tweed, and it's a pale pink, and I just thought it was super pretty. I have really gotten to where I like pink lately. It's kind of weird. It's uncharted territory, but I'm just rolling with it. And so I used this pattern to make this headband. This is the Rippling Ear Warmer by Hooked with a Twist. It is a free pattern to download. And I had to modify this one as well. I must have a small head, but when I made the one with the however many repeats she said to me, it was much wider as far as longer than I needed for my head. So I ripped out a couple of rows and then I seamed it together, but I guess where I ripped it out was not really where I was supposed to because I wound up with this really weird bump when I seamed it together. Now, granted, I am not the best crocheter. I am a far better knitter than I am crocheter, and it could have just been human error and my inability to crochet those together. It's probably that. It's probably not her or my inability to actually rip out at the right place. But I do have this one little area that is not like the others, and that's okay. I just wear it in the back. But I've already got multiple wears out of this because of that cold spell that we had last week. And it stays on my head very well. And the reason I felt this was necessity is because my hair is so long right now. It gets so frizzy with the constant heat or the humidity, and I pull it up in a bun, and my ears were getting cold. I cannot wait to get my hair cut. So I crafted this out of necessity, and it worked quite well. It really did. I really like how this yarn, it's pretty soft. It's softer than I thought it was going to be, but it's also very plasticky to me. Like I can feel the acrylic in it, and I don't really like that. But for something to wear outside, which is what I needed this for picking up limbs and doing yard work, I don't mind it to be an acrylic base because it's going to be easier to wash and keep clean. And so it worked perfectly well. And the fact that I only paid $2 for the yarn because of the clearance made it even better. I do have a little bit of this yarn left over, and I will probably use that as well in a project later on, an ornament or some kind of embellishment on something else. But I think it turned out quite well. I actually forgot about this one last project, and this was kind of a science experiment, I guess you can say. I've been seeing so many people ask questions about blocking acrylic, and I've done that once. So there's different ways to block items, and they really vary on the material that makes up the yarn. Acrylic, you cannot really water wet block like you can a natural fiber. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't have that natural grow or bloom like an organic fiber does, because acrylic is a plasticish man-made synthetic fiber. It is what it is. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I obviously use acrylics, and I think they do have a place in the crafting, knitting, and crochet world, despite what a lot of people may say, because a lot of people just don't like acrylic yarns. But there's so many people out there who cannot use natural fibers, and so acrylic is a great option for them. But there is a pattern from Sandra Paul, who is Cherry Hearts. She has a YouTube channel. If you have no idea who that is, please fix that situation. Watch some of her videos. They're mesmerizing and so relaxing. I love to watch them. But she has this pattern called Boho Hearts, and that is what I used for this, kinda. And then again, I went off on my own, as I always do. But I made some of these hearts, and then I connected them with a string and put some beads on it. And the thought process for this was just to make some Valentine's Day decor out here. I don't have a lot of Valentine's Day decor at all. I never really decorate for the holiday. I have like one little tote that I split everywhere in the house. So I will put a couple of the things out here. So I wanted to make some things to go out here. And I probably should have made 2 of each size of these, so that way I could sew them together and you couldn't see the back of them. But I'm going to hang this on the wall, so it wasn't really that big of a deal, and I just didn't want to, and so I didn't. But I kind of followed her pattern, but then I wanted to try playing around with blocking or killing the acrylic, which is what it's called when you basically melt the fibers of the acrylic yarn. And so I was just kind of using this as a gauge to see how far I needed to hold the iron away from my project. I had a towel in between them, but when I got down here, I was kind of curious to see what would happen if I just kind of pushed down, and it did flatten the front post double crochet that I did there, but I did that because I wanted to show y'all what could happen when you're blocking, steam blocking your acrylic yarns. It does really flatten the fibers, and once it goes down this road, it does not recover from that. Definitely have to proceed with steam blocking acrylic yarns with caution. I don't think it really ruined it. I mean, it kind of messed it up, but I don't care. It's just a decoration to hang out here. It was something to do, and it was fun to experiment with this. But this is the Boho Hearts pattern that I just kind of modified into a hanging item from Sandra Paul. So we've talked about works in progress. I showed you my finished objects, but I do want to talk about a couple of things that I've planned for next month in case you're interested in joining. One of them is a craft along. This is with a couple of YouTube channels. I will post information down below under a headline of Impkins, which is in reference to this book, Crochet Impkins by Megan Lapp. This book I had pre-ordered before, I think, the holidays. I think I actually pre-ordered it in the summer at some point, and it came in. And when it came in, because of all the craziness that was going on out here, I just put it in a bag and it's just sat there since it came in. And I saw that they were doing a make-along for this, so I went and dug it out of the box, and I will be joining in this make-along. What they're doing is they have a live, and on the live, people are voting for the head style, the arm style, the body style, and the leg style, or if it's standing or whatever. And then whoever wants to join in making it, who has the book, they can join in this make-along. I thought it would be fun, basically because I already have the book and I can use these as a class each month for my Harry Potter year-long craft along. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the Harry Potter craft along, I forgot to mention that there's going to be this video that I'm going to be linking, and it goes over all of that for you. But this is a really cute book. I like how it feels, but it's just got the cutest little creatures in here. that you can make. This is definitely, when I saw this, something that I had to buy. I love making little stuffies. And the designer, she already has another book in the works. It's about monsters. I may have already pre-ordered that. There is a link I'm going to put down below. It is my affiliate link. So if you shop from that link, then I will make some pennies, and I mean pennies from your purchase. But I use those pennies and put them back in the channel. So I really appreciate it if you use my links. You can find some more of my affiliate links down towards the bottom up under my little tab area that says shop affiliate links in the video description, as well as in the header of this channel. But I'm going to be making that, and for that I'm going to go ahead and show you the yarn that I chose for that. This is part of the yarns that I purchased during the Michael sale. I did not buy a lot of yarn. I think I spent maybe $15–20 at the most. It was not a lot. But I did get a couple of things of yarn yesterday when I went to town. I had to take my son for an appointment, and we went by Joann's. I do not have a Joann's where I live. It is literally an hour and 45 minutes to the closest Joann's. So we were right there. Naturally, I went in and I did pick up a couple of things. I spent $22. That was it. I was very mindful of the fact that I have a whole studio of yarn. But these are Lane Yarn Capri Eco Cotton. These are our worsted weight yarn. This is a really kind of softer cotton to be a, what's the word I'm looking for? Economical price aligned cotton. It also is very pretty, and it has these kind of heathery tones to it, but I really liked these together, and I just think it's going to be a really pretty spring pill palette. This is rose, this is pewter, and then we have sage. But those are going to be my first Impkin, and I will be starting that sometime the first week of February so I can turn it in for a class of February. I think they have to be done by the end of February. Even I need to reference back to that video that I mentioned that's in the description for more details. So that is something that's coming. I also showed you my Things We're Making Thursday slippers in this video. And I want to go ahead and talk about next month's theme, because the way they're doing the Things We're Making Thursday this year is it's more of a monthly theme opposed to a specific pattern that is being chosen. So the pattern theme for the month of February is all about blankets. You can choose any kind of blanket you want to work on for this make along. And if you would like to join, you do not have to have a channel. There is a Facebook group. You would just need to contact Heather, and I will put that information under the Things We're Making Thursday header up under the video description. But for my blankets, I'm just going to be working on blankets that I already have going in progress. It seems like it is the most common sense thing for me to do, opposed to adding another work in progress to my growing list. So what I'm going to choose to focus on is going to be my Sophies Universe, because I keep saying that this year is going to be the year to get Sophies off the hooks, and I have neglected to do so. Sophies was started for me in 2015. That is when there was a actual craft along for this blanket. This is a blanket by Deidre, I can't think of her name. I'll put it right here. But it is this big crochet mandala blanket, and it is such an amazing thing to make because you learn so much in it. I cannot even get this all the way in the shot. Let me try. Okay, so this is how my Sophies is thus far. Again, I am 6 feet tall. You can see it right there at the bottom. I am on row 80 something, and I think there's like 100 and something rows, but they are kind of lengthy. My blanket is made out of worsted weight yarns, various yarns. Some is I love this yarn, some of it's Super Saver, some of it is I have no idea what it is. It was just gifted to me, and so I decided to throw it in the blanket. Some of the yarns I've already ran out of, like this purple, which is a vintage Red Heart colorway. I ran out right about here, but I did find some Loops and Threads Impeccable that is identical, and that is what I'm carrying on with. Same with this darker green. This is a vintage yarn that is one of those colorways from Kmart. I can't remember what the brand was called. Seb. I was not even a knitter crocheter then. It was given to me. But I found a replacement for it at Michael's, an impeccable yarn, and it's this green right here, and it's close enough that I don't hate it. But that is something that I would really like to focus on for the month of February, is this blanket. And that's what I plan on doing. The last thing I really want to work on for the month of February is, number one, getting every bit of my yarn into Ravelry with photos. I have this little bit left right here in a chair, and I have all the yarn that is behind me in the floor. All that is my James Brett Marble Chunky. I sorted it all, put it in its different colorway piles, and I just need to weigh them and put those in the system. And then I'm done with that process, and I'm super excited about it. I've also started going through and ironing all my fabrics and putting them on comic book boards. I did not realize I had so much fabric. I have a lot of fabric. I really need to get back to sewing bags. I've kind of been on the fence and having a internal dialogue with myself about maybe selling some of my project bags on my channel, my website. My website is already built with a shop embedded in it. And when I built that website, because I actually built it on my own, I have it so I just have to hit a couple buttons and then it'll pop up. And then I can sell straight from my own website. I don't know though. I don't know if I have time to devote to that right now. So I'm kind of on the fence about that and where I want that to go. But I do have all this fabric, so I definitely want to sew some more bags, because some of this I've only bought like half a yard for, specifically to make a project bag for myself. And I have a lot of project bags already. So it's not like I really need them, but I just enjoy the process of making them and having really pretty project bags. As far as the project bag that I'm using right now for my Sophies, it is actually this crocheted bag right here that I crocheted many, many years ago for the purpose of putting all the yarn in it for my Sophies. So it has held up quite well and done what it was intended to do. So that pretty much sums up all that I have for today's video. I will be coming out with a video over the weekend of the yarn I just recently purchased, so make sure you are tuned in for that. You can hit that subscribe button and that will ensure that you will see more of my videos. And you can hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. That really helps our channels grow. YouTube sees that as a positive reflection of the video and the content creator, and that's what is needed to push videos out to more people. So I would greatly appreciate if you did that. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this parade of FOs and whips, and I cannot wait to show you some of the yarns and the Happy Mail, because in that yarn video I will be opening 2 packages that was sent to me, and I don't know what's in them, but I want to know, and I've been holding out opening them so I can open them with you. So until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you later.